The battle around Terminus Station was unlike anything Captain Tae-Yang Kim had experienced. Ships from both sides filled the void, their weapons turning space into a storm of fire and metal. The Retribution pushed forward through the chaos, taking hit after hit but never stopping. Shields at 30%, Engineer Ji-Won Lee shouted from her station. Hull breaches on decks 5 and 6. Keep us moving, Tae-Yang ordered. We're almost there. Lieutenant Seung-Hae Choi worked her controls frantically, coordinating defensive fire while plotting their approach to the reactor access points. Captain, we've lost half our escort ships. The Council defense is too strong. Then we go alone if we have to. Target that access port. Prepare fusion warheads for launch. Dr. Yuna Han monitored the station's power readings from her lab. The reactor is already unstable. They've been pushing it too hard to complete the weapon ahead of schedule. If we hit it now, the explosion will be massive. How massive? Everything within 5,000 kilometers will be vaporized. Tae-Yang checked their position. They were 3,000 kilometers from the target. Even at maximum speed, they wouldn't clear the blast radius in time. Captain, I have an idea, Ji-Won said suddenly. If I divert all power to the engines, and I mean everything, weapons, shields, life support, we might be able to accelerate fast enough to escape. Might? 60% chance. Maybe less. Seung-Hae looked up from her console. Those are better odds than 0. I say we take them. Tae-Yang looked around his bridge at the crew who'd become his family. They'd been through so much together. Kepler Station, the Battle of Earth, dozens of raids and missions. They trusted him completely, and now he was leading them into a situation where they'd probably die. All non-essential personnel to escape pods, he ordered. Anyone who wants off this ship, go now. No shame in it, nobody moved. Not one person left their station. All right then, Tae-Yang said with a slight smile. Let's finish this. Ji-Won, prepare your power transfer. Seung-Hee, I need perfect targeting. Yuna, make sure those warheads are set for maximum yield. Already done, Yuna replied calmly. The Retribution accelerated toward the station, weapons blazing. Council ships tried to intercept them, but human and allied vessels threw themselves in the way. Tae-Yang watched good people die to give him this chance. He wouldn't waste it. Weapons range in 30 seconds, Seung-Hae announced. Target locked. Warheads armed. 20 seconds. A Council destroyer appeared directly in their path, firing everything it had. The Retribution's weakened shields collapsed. Hull plating tore away. The ship shook violently, but Tae-Yang held course. 10 seconds. Sir, that destroyer is going to ram us. Someone shouted, hold course. Tae-Yang's voice was iron. 5 seconds. Fire! The Retribution launched every fusion warhead it had. 20 missiles streaked toward the reactor access port. At the last second, Tae-Yang pulled the ship hard to starboard, barely avoiding collision with the Council destroyer. Direct hit, Seung-Hae yelled. The reactor is going critical. Ji-Won now. Transferring all power to engines. Ji-Won's hands flew across her console. Shields down. Weapons offline. Gravity failing. Hold on to something. The Retribution's engines screamed to life with power they were never designed to handle. The ship shot forward at impossible acceleration. The G-forces slammed everyone against their restraints. Tae-Yang's vision darkened at the edges, but he stayed conscious through sheer will. Behind them, Terminus Station's reactor reached critical mass. The antimatter containment failed. For one brilliant instant, a second sun was born in the depths of space. The explosion caught the Retribution's stern. The aft sections were vaporized instantly. The ship tumbled through space, trailing debris and atmosphere. Warning alarms blared across every system. In engineering, Ji-Won fought to keep the ship together. Half her consoles were dead. The engines were melting. But she was the best engineer in the fleet, and she refused to let her ship die. Shutting down engines before they explode, she shouted. Sealing hull breaches. Somebody tell me we're clear of the blast. On the bridge, Seung-Hee checked their position with shaking hands. We made it, barely. We're 7,000 kilometers from the station. Or what's left of it. Tae-Yang pulled himself upright in his chair. His ribs hurt, probably cracked from the G-forces. But they were alive. Somehow, impossibly, they were alive. All hands, damage report. Who's still with us? The responses came in slowly. Engineering was intact. The bridge was functional. Medical bay was damaged but operational. They'd lost the aft third of the ship and 60 crew members. But 200 had survived. Captain, I'm detecting emergency beacons, Seung-Hee reported. Escape pods from our ship. They ejected before the blast. Get rescue ships to them immediately. I want every survivor recovered. Admiral Sang-hoon's face appeared on what was left of their main display. He looked shocked. Retribution, is that really you? We thought you were gone. Almost were, sir. What's the status of the battle? The Council forces are retreating. When the station exploded, it destroyed half their fleet. The survivors are fleeing in all directions. We won. Tae-yang felt the weight of exhaustion crash over him. They'd won. The superweapon was destroyed. But the cost had been terrible. They'd lost 80 ships in the assault. Over 3,000 people dead. Sir, we're receiving a priority transmission, Xiong Haye said. It's from High Chancellor Mira. She wants to speak with you directly. Mira's face appeared on screen. She looked tired and old. Captain Tae-yang Kim, I'm broadcasting to all Council worlds. It's time everyone knew the truth. Across the galaxy, billions watched as Mira revealed everything. The Council's corruption, their attacks on Earth, the plan to build a weapon to destroy entire worlds, the lies they told their own people. The Galactic Council has become the very thing it was created to prevent, Mira said. A tyrannical empire that crushes anyone who dares to be free. As of this moment, the Celthian Accord withdraws from the Council. We will no longer support this war. Within hours, 3 more species followed her lead. The Council, which had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years, was falling apart. Councillor Vex was captured trying to escape the ruins of Terminus Station. He was brought before a special tribunal. Not of humans, but of the species the Council had oppressed. The Quillari, who'd been enslaved. The Ven, whose resources had been stolen. The Lothics, whose protests had been silenced. Premier Min Su Kang refused to let Earth dominate the proceedings. This isn't about revenge, he told the tribunal. It's about justice. Let the victims have their voice. Vex and the other war criminals were tried and convicted. The Drakari Empire collapsed into civil war. The Vryn scattered to the far reaches of space. The Council's power structure crumbled. In its place, something new began to emerge. Dr. Yunahan worked tirelessly with representatives from dozens of species to create the Galactic Alliance. It wasn't like the Council. No species could veto others. No empire could dominate through force. Every member had an equal voice. It won't be perfect, Yuna told Premier Minsu. There will be arguments and disputes, but at least it will be honest. At least it will be fair. Admiral Sang-hoon began demobilizing the fleet. Earth kept enough ships to defend itself and help protect other worlds during the transition. But the war was over. It was time to build peace. Captain Tae-yang was offered command of the Alliance's peacekeeping forces. He declined. He'd spent too long fighting. Too long watching people die. What will you do instead? Admiral Sang-hoon asked. The Dauntless is being rebuilt. My crew and I are going back to what we were supposed to do all along. Explore, discover, meet new species, and learn from them. You've earned that peace, Captain. 5 years later, Captain Tae-yang stood on the bridge of the rebuilt Dauntless, looking at a nebula humanity had discovered during the war. Dr. Yunahan had joined his crew as chief science officer. Sung Hai was his executive officer. Ji-won ran engineering like always. They'd all changed. They carried scars, both visible and hidden, but they had survived. Earth had survived. A message arrived from Earth. A young woman appeared on screen, barely 20 years old. Born after the war began, Captain Kim. I'm Lieutenant Bora Choi. I just graduated from the Space Academy. I wanted to thank you. You and your crew saved us all. Now my generation gets to explore the stars instead of fighting for survival. Tae-yang smiled. This was what they'd fought for. Not conquest, not revenge. The chance for the next generation to live in peace. Lieutenant Choi, the galaxy is yours now. Make sure you take care of it. He closed the channel and turned to his crew. Helm, set course for the Andromeda sector. Let's see what's out there. The Dauntless jumped to FTL, carrying humanity's torch into the unknown. The Council had betrayed Earth, thinking humans were weak. They'd attacked our colonies, killed our people, and tried to enslave us. They'd lit a fire they thought would consume humanity. Instead, that fire had burned across the galaxy. It had destroyed an empire built on lies and oppression. It had forged new alliances based on respect and freedom, and it had proven something the Council never understood. Humanity doesn't fight because we want to. We fight because we must. We fight to protect the innocent. We fight to defend the defenseless. And when we fight with everything we have. The galaxy learned what humans had always known. were capable of terrible destruction. 3 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. Ambassador Hyunwoo Park still remembered that day with perfect clarity. The great hall on the council station had been filled with light and color from a dozen alien species. They had welcomed Earth with open arms, promising friendship and protection. Hyunwoo had believed every word. Now, as he stood before the council chambers once again, he felt nothing but cold dread in his stomach. Captain Tae-Yang Kim waited outside the chamber with his crew. His ship, the ESS Dauntless, was docked at the station for what the council called a routine inspection. Tae-Yang knew better. Nothing the council did was routine anymore. Lieutenant Seung Hae Choi stood beside him, her hand never far from her sidearm. She was his tactical officer and had been with him for 5 years. She trusted her instincts, and right now those instincts screamed danger. "Captain, something feels wrong," she whispered. Tae-Yang nodded. He felt it too. The station guards carried weapons today. They never did that before. The other alien species in the corridor avoided looking at the humans. Fear showed in their eyes. Inside the chamber, Counselor Vex of the Drakari Empire spoke with a voice like grinding stones. His reptilian face showed no emotion, but his words cut deep. "Earth has failed to comply with the disarmament treaty," Vex announced. "Your defensive platforms must be removed immediately. Your fleet must be reduced to 12 vessels. These are the conditions of your protection." Hyunwoo felt anger rising in his chest. "We've already given up half our defenses. Our colonies are vulnerable. Pirates attack us every month and you do nothing. Pirates?" Vex's laugh was cold. "Those are internal matters. Earth must learn discipline before earning full council privileges." The other council members said nothing. They looked away or studied their data tablets. No one would help humanity. No one would speak up. Hyunwoo left the chamber with his hands shaking. He found Tae-Yang and his crew waiting. "They're going to destroy us," he said quietly. "Slowly. Piece by piece." 6 months earlier, Tae-Yang had learned this truth the hard way. The distress signal from Kepler Station had come in the middle of the night. 40,000 people lived on that mining colony. They were farmers, engineers, teachers, and children. They were defenseless, all hands to battle stations. Tae-Yang had shouted as the Dauntless jumped to faster than light speed. "Seung-Hye, prepare weapons." "Captain, we only have light railguns," she reminded him. "The council made us remove the heavy weapons. Then we'll make do." When they arrived at Kepler Station, the sight stole Tae-Yang's breath. 6 ships surrounded the colony. They were Vryn raiders, a species the council supposedly kept under watch. They tore into the station's hull with energy weapons, venting atmosphere into space. Thousands were dying. The Dauntless charged forward. Engineer Ji-Won Lee pushed the engines beyond safety limits. The ship shook and groaned, but she held together. "Target the lead ship," Tae-Yang ordered. "Fire everything." Their railguns hammered the nearest raider. The tungsten rounds punched through shields designed to stop energy weapons. The raider exploded in a flash of light. But 5 more remained. Seung-Hae worked her controls with desperate speed. "Captain, I can use the asteroids. If we lure them into the belt, do it." The Dauntless dove into the asteroid field with the raiders following. Seung-Hye calculated trajectories in her head, watching the rocks spin past. At exactly the right moment, she fired a spread of missiles. They didn't target the raiders. They targeted the asteroids. The explosions created a deadly storm of rock and metal. 2 raider ships were caught in the blast and torn apart. The others broke off their attack and fled, but the victory was hollow. When Tae-Yang brought rescue teams to Kepler Station, they found 17,000 dead. 17,000 people who had trusted the council's protection. Dr. Yuna Han worked for 3 days without sleep in the station's ruined medical bay. She was a xenobiology expert, but now she used her skills to identify bodies. Her hands were steady, but her eyes were empty. "They didn't have to die," she told Tae-Yang. "If we'd had our weapons, if we'd been allowed to defend them." Tae-Yang gathered every piece of evidence he could find. He collected the raiders' weapons, scanned their ships, analyzed their energy signatures. Then he took everything to the council. "These weapons are council-made," he told them, spreading the data across the chamber's display. The energy signatures matched Drakari military equipment. "You armed them. You sent them to kill our people." Counselor Vex didn't even pretend to be surprised. "You have no proof of council involvement." This was clearly a dispute between human factions that escalated. 17,000 people are dead. And the council regrets this loss. However, we must issue a formal reprimand to Earth. The ESS Dauntless violated treaty boundaries by engaging in aggressive military action. Such behavior will not be tolerated. Taeyang wanted to leap across the chamber and wrap his hands around Vex's throat. Only Seung-hee's hand on his arm stopped him. They left before he did something that would give the Council an excuse to destroy Earth entirely. Back on the Dauntless, Dr. Yuna worked in her lab with pieces of Vrin technology. She was brilliant, the best xenobiology expert Earth had. If anyone could find the truth, she could. It took her 3 weeks. When she finished, she called Taeyang to her lab. "Look at this," she said, pointing to her screen. "The Vrin weapons aren't just Council-made. They're brand new, manufactured within the last year. And look at the design. It's specifically optimized to breach human hull plating." Taeyang stared at the evidence. "They're testing us, seeing how we respond. More than that, they're farming us. Our colonies have rare minerals. The Council sells our locations to raiders, takes a cut of the profit, then blames us for not defending ourselves." On Earth, Intelligence Officer Dae-hyun Shin had been working his own investigation. He was quiet and methodical, the kind of man who noticed small details. He'd been tracking communication patterns between Council worlds and the raiders. When he brought his findings to Premier Min-soo Kang, the leader of Earth's government, his hands were shaking. "Sir, it's worse than we thought. The Council has been sabotaging our colonies for 2 years. Every raid, every attack, they orchestrated all of it. They've been bleeding us dry while forcing us to disarm." Premier Min-soo was a pragmatic man who had led Earth through first contact. He'd believed in diplomacy and cooperation. Now he saw the truth. They'd been played for fools. He called an emergency meeting of Earth's military and civilian leaders. In a secure room deep beneath the capital, he shared everything they'd learned. "The Galactic Council views us as livestock," he said, "resources to exploit until we're used up. Then they'll either enslave us or kill us." Admiral Sang-hoon Baek, commander of Earth's remaining fleet, spoke up. "What are our options?" Before Min-soo could answer, a priority message arrived from the Council station. Councillor Vex's face appeared on the screen. "People of Earth," he said with mock formality, "the Galactic Council has reviewed your resource holdings. 12 of your colonies occupy space claimed by the Drakari Empire. You will evacuate these colonies within 30 days and cede all mining rights. Failure to comply will be considered an act of aggression against the Council. We will respond with peacekeeping forces to ensure compliance." The message ended. Everyone in the room understood what peacekeeping forces meant: invasion, conquest, slavery, or death. Premier Min-soo looked around the table at Earth's leaders. "The Council thinks we're weak. They think we'll surrender without a fight. They've forgotten something important about humanity." "What's that, sir?" someone asked. "We've been fighting wars since we crawled out of caves. We know how to survive. And when you back humans into a corner, we don't give up." He paused. "We get angry." Admiral Sang-hoon smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. "Sir, there's something I need to show you. Something we've been working on. Just in case." Taeyang received orders to report to coordinates in the outer solar system. When the Dauntless arrived, he couldn't believe what he saw. Hidden in the Kuiper Belt, carved into a rogue planetoid, was a massive shipyard. And in that shipyard were ships. Hundreds of ships, warships. "Welcome to Bastion Station," Admiral Sang-hoon said. "Earth's insurance policy." The fire had been lit. Now it would burn across the galaxy. Bastion Station looked like a natural asteroid from the outside. Inside, it was humanity's greatest secret. Captain Taeyang Kim walked through corridors carved from solid rock, his crew following close behind. They passed work crews assembling weapons systems and engineers testing new engines. Admiral Sang-hoon Baek led them to an observation deck. Through the reinforced glass, they could see the shipyard. Dozens of vessels floated in various stages of construction. They weren't exploration ships like the Dauntless. These were pure warships built for one purpose only. "How long have you been building these?" Taeyang asked. 2 years, Sang-hoon replied. "Since the first colony attacks. Some of us saw this coming. We knew the Council would betray us eventually." Lieutenant Sung-hae Choi studied the nearest ship through the glass. It was sleek and angular, covered in armor plating. "What class are these?" "We call them Reaper-class destroyers. Fast, maneuverable, and heavily armed. They're designed specifically to fight Council ships." Engineer Ji-won Lee's eyes went wide.
"Sir, I helped design those engines."
"I thought we were just doing research." Sang-hoon smiled. "You were. You just didn't know what the research was for. Your engine modifications make these ships 30% faster than anything the Council has. Dr. Yuna Han had been quiet, but now she spoke up. The Council will have superior shields and energy weapons. How do we counter that? Come with me. The Admiral led them deeper into the station to a secure weapons lab. Inside, scientists worked on rows of sleek missiles and railgun rounds. A technician handed Sang-hoon a small metal cylinder. This is an EMP torpedo. The Council's ships rely on AI systems for everything. Targeting, shields, navigation. Their crews don't even know how to fly manually anymore. These torpedoes will fry every electronic system on their ships. Tae-yang took the cylinder, feeling its weight. And the railguns? The Council dismissed kinetic weapons as primitive. They optimized their shields to stop energy weapons. But these tungsten penetrators moving at 50,000 meters per second? Their shields won't even slow them down. Over the next week, Tae-yang and his crew transferred to their new ship. The ESS Retribution was twice the size of the Dauntless and bristled with weapons. Walking through her corridors felt different. This wasn't a ship of exploration. This was a ship of war. Seung-hae took her position at the tactical station on the bridge. Screens surrounded her, showing every weapon system, every sensor, every possible threat. Captain, this is incredible. I can coordinate an entire battle group from here. Ji-won worked in engineering, learning the new systems. The engines were powerful enough to rip the ship apart if pushed too hard. She had to understand every circuit, every power relay. Lives would depend on her knowledge. Yuna set up her lab in the science section. But instead of studying alien biology, she now focused on alien technology. Every Council ship had weaknesses. She would find them. In the command center, Admiral Sang-hoon gathered his officers for the final briefing. 300 ships were ready. 15,000 crew members had trained in secret for this moment. They were ready for war. The Council expects us to surrender, Sang-hoon said. They think we're weak, frightened. But we're going to show them what humanity does when threatened. He brought up a star map. These are Council military installations across 6 systems. We hit them all simultaneously, hard and fast. We show them that Earth remembers how to fight. Premier Min-soo Kang appeared on the screen from Earth. Admiral, you have authorization to proceed. Operation Wildfire is approved. Make them regret every human life they took. The fleet moved out in small groups to avoid detection. Tae-yang commanded Battle Group 7, 12 ships including the Retribution. Their target was Helion Prime, a Drakari forward base in a system with 3 gas giants. The journey took 4 days at maximum FTL speed. The crew used the time to train and prepare. Seung-hae ran combat simulations until she could coordinate the battle group in her sleep. Ji-won checked and rechecked every system. Yuna studied the Drakari ship designs, looking for weak points. On the final night before the attack, Tae-yang couldn't sleep. He found Yuna in her lab still working. You should rest, he said, so should you. She set down her datapad. I keep thinking about Kepler Station. All those people we couldn't save. Tomorrow we make sure it doesn't happen again. Will it be enough? Even if we win every battle, the Council has thousands of ships. We have hundreds. Tae-yang had wondered the same thing. Then we'll have to be smarter, faster, more determined. We'll fight like humans have always fought. Like we have everything to lose. The attack began at 0600 hours. Battle Group 7 dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Helion Prime system. Alarms immediately shrieked across the Drakari base. They hadn't expected this. No one attacked Council installations. It simply wasn't done. All ships battle formation, Tae-yang ordered. Seung-hae, find me their command ship. Scanning now, sir. They are the heavy cruiser in the center. That's their flagship. Target it first. I want them blind and confused. The Retribution and her sister ships accelerated toward the base. The Drakari scrambled to respond, launching fighters and powering up their station weapons. But they were slow, complacent. They'd never faced a real threat before. Entering weapons range, Seung-hae announced. Missile tubes loaded with EMP torpedoes. Railguns charged. Fire. The torpedoes streaked across the void, too fast for the Drakari point defenses to stop. They detonated against the flagship's shields in bursts of electromagnetic energy. The shields collapsed, and every light on the cruiser went dark. Dead in space, then the railguns opened up. Tungsten rounds hammered into Drakari ships, punching through armor like it was paper. The Council's energy shields, so effective against lasers and plasma, did nothing against solid metal moving at incredible speeds. Their shields aren't stopping anything, Songhai shouted with fierce joy. Everything we designed works. Ji-won's voice came over the comm. Captain, I'm reading power surges in their reactor cores. They're trying to overload their weapons. All ships deploy drone clusters. From each human vessel, hundreds of small drones launched. They swarmed the Drakari ships like angry insects. The Council's point defense systems, already struggling, were overwhelmed. Human missiles slipped through the gaps and found their targets. The battle lasted 4 hours. By the end, Helion Prime was a burning wreck. 36 Drakari ships floated dead in space. The survivors fled in panic. Tai Yang stood on the bridge watching the destruction. He felt no joy in it, only grim satisfaction. Sung-hee, send the message on all Council frequencies. She nodded and opened the broadcast. Tai Yang's face appeared on screens across a dozen star systems. People of the Galactic Council, this is Captain Tae-Yang Kim of the Earth Space Service. You have attacked our colonies, killed our people, forced us to disarm while you armed our enemies. You called us weak, primitive animals. You wanted to see what humanity does when threatened. Now you know. This is just the beginning. Every base, every fleet, every system that stands with the Council against Earth will fall. We didn't want this war, but we'll finish it. The message ended. Across the galaxy, the Council received similar reports from all 6 target systems. Every attack had succeeded. Human forces had struck with precision and fury, then vanished before reinforcements could arrive. On the Council station, Councillor Vex smashed his clawed fist against his desk. Impossible! Humans don't have this kind of military power. High Chancellor Mira of the Celthian Accord studied the battle reports with growing dread. We underestimated them badly. Then we send everything. Vex roared. Every ship, every fleet. We crush Earth before they can strike again. And if we fail, we won't fail. Earth is one world. We are 12 empires. We will drown them in numbers. The Council mobilized its peacekeeping armadas from 5 sectors. 2,000 ships began converging on Earth's solar system. They would end this rebellion quickly and brutally. They would make an example of humanity that would last for 1,000 years. On Earth, Premier Minsu addressed the United Colonies. His face appeared on every screen, every broadcast, every corner of human space. My fellow humans, the Council is coming. They bring ships and weapons beyond counting. They think they can make us kneel. But I want you to remember something. Our ancestors survived ice ages and plagues. They crossed oceans in wooden boats. They walked on the moon with computers less powerful than your phones. Humans don't give up. We don't surrender. We fight for every meter of ground, every breath of air, every single life. The Council will learn this. We will never kneel again. On the Retribution, Tae-Yang gathered his senior staff. Orders just came through. We're returning to Earth. The whole fleet is returning. They're bringing the war to us. Can we win? Ji-won asked quietly. Tae-Yang looked at each of them. Songhai, who had lost family at Kepler Station. Ji-won, who had built the engines that might save them all. Yuna, who had uncovered the Council's lies. They were tired, scared, but determined. We're going to find out. The Council's armada arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system like a swarm of locusts. 2,000 ships representing 5 major empires and a dozen minor species. They came expecting fear and surrender. Instead, they found a fortress. War Marshal Kreth of the Drakari Empire commanded the invasion fleet from his flagship, the Devastator. He was a veteran of 50 campaigns and had never lost a battle. Humans, he thought, would be no different than the other species he'd conquered. Scan the system, he ordered. Locate their pathetic fleet. His tactical officer studied the displays with growing confusion. Sir, I'm reading defensive positions throughout the asteroid belt, around Luna and near Jupiter's moons. There are hundreds of ships and weapon platforms, thousands of them. Impossible. Intelligence said Earth had less than 50 warships. Intelligence was wrong, sir. Captain Tae-Yang Kim stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the Council fleet approach. Admiral Sang-hoon Bayek's face appeared on his screen. All ships hold positions, Sang-hoon ordered calmly. Let them come deeper into the system. We want them committed before we spring the trap. Lieutenant Sung-hai Choi checked her tactical board one last time. Every human ship was positioned exactly where it needed to be. Every minefield was active. Every orbital defense platform was locked and loaded. Earth had spent 2 years preparing for this moment. They're entering the asteroid belt, she reported. Still accelerating. They think they can just punch through to Earth. Tae-yang allowed himself a cold smile. Let's teach them otherwise. All weapons stand ready. On Earth, billions watched the battle unfold on their screens. In homes and shelters, people held their children close. This was it. Everything depended on the next few hours. Premier Min Soo-kang watched from the military command center buried deep beneath the capital. He'd ordered the evacuation of all coastal cities, prepared shelters for 1 billion people, but he knew that if the fleet failed, no shelter would save them. The Council would glass the planet from orbit. Sir, the Council fleet is entering weapon range, an officer reported. Then let's give them a proper welcome. Admiral Sang-hoon gave the order. All units execute Operation Steel Rain, fire at will. The asteroid belt erupted with light and fury. What the Council thought were simple rocks were actually hidden weapon platforms. Massive railguns emerged from concealed positions and opened fire. The tungsten rounds crossed the void at incredible speeds. The lead Council ships never saw it coming. Their shields, designed to stop energy weapons, offered no protection against solid metal projectiles. Hulls ruptured. Ships exploded. In the first 30 seconds, 50 Council vessels were destroyed. Contact. Multiple contacts, Kreth's tactical officer screamed. They're everywhere. Return fire. All ships, spread out and return fire. But the Council ships were packed too closely together. When they tried to maneuver, they collided with each other. The tight formation that was supposed to show their overwhelming power had become a death trap. Shanghai coordinated the human counterattack with cold precision. Group 3, target the heavy cruisers on the left flank. Group 7, hit their carrier group. Group 9, deploy EMP torpedoes against the command ships. The battle unfolded exactly as she'd planned. The Council had numbers, but Earth had preparation and determination. And Earth had rage. Tae-young watched a Drakari destroyer try to flee only to run straight into a minefield. The ship disintegrated in a series of explosions. He felt nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt, just the cold focus of survival. Captain, 3 enemy cruisers are trying to flank us, Shanghai warned. Let them come. Jiwan, give me emergency power to the forward railguns. In engineering, Jiwan Lee worked frantically at her console. The Retribution's power grid was running at 110% capacity, far beyond safe limits. The ship could tear itself apart. But if they lost this battle, it wouldn't matter. You've got full power for 30 seconds, she reported. After that, we'll need to vent heat or the guns will melt. 30 seconds is all I need. Sung-hee, target solutions on all 3 cruisers. Solutions locked, sir. Fire. The Retribution's forward batteries unleashed hell. 6 railguns firing in sequence, each round moving fast enough to cross the distance in heartbeats. The first cruiser took 3 hits and broke apart. The second managed to turn, but a round tore through its engineering section. The third tried to return fire, but human missiles were already streaking toward it. All 3 cruisers died within 15 seconds. Dr. Yuna Han worked in her lab, monitoring the electronic warfare systems. The Council ships were trying to hack human computers, but she'd prepared countermeasures. Every virus they sent was blocked. Every attempt to infiltrate was shut down. They're getting desperate, she told Tae-yang over the comm. They're using tactics I've never seen before. Can you stop them? Already done. I'm even sending a few surprises back their way. Across the battlefield, Council ships suddenly found their own systems turning against them. Weapons locked up. Navigation went haywire. Some ships even fired on their own allies by mistake. Yuna's counterattack was invisible but devastating. War Marshal Kreth watched his fleet falling apart with growing horror. This wasn't supposed to happen. Humans were primitive, weak. They shouldn't have this kind of military power. Sir, we've lost 300 ships, his tactical officer reported. Maybe we should withdraw. We do not withdraw. The Drakari Empire does not flee from animals. Kreth's voice was pure rage. All remaining ships full assault on Earth itself. Ignore the defenders. We'll destroy their homeworld. 500 Council ships broke through the human lines and accelerated toward Earth. Alarms shrieked across every human vessel. They're going for Earth, Sung-hai shouted. Captain, if they reach orbit, I know. All ships pursuit course, maximum speed, but the Council ships had a head start. They would reach Earth's orbit in minutes. On the planet below, people looked up at the sky and saw death approaching. Then Earth's final defense activated. Massive orbital platforms, hidden among the satellite networks and space stations, revealed themselves. These weren't mining facilities or research stations. They were MAC guns, magnetic acceleration cannons, the largest weapons humanity had ever built. Each platform held a single gun barrel 300 meters long. Each round weighed 20 tons of solid tungsten. And Earth had 50 of these platforms. They fired simultaneously. 50 rounds, each moving at 1% the speed of light. The Council ships tried to evade, but at that velocity, evasion was impossible. The rounds punched through shields, armor, and entire ships like they were paper. 30 Council ships vanished in the first volley. 20 more in the second. The survivors broke off their attack and tried to flee. "They're running," Xiong reported with fierce triumph. "Don't let them escape," Taeyang ordered. "If they get away, they'll just come back with more ships." End this now. The human fleet pursued the fleeing Council ships into deep space. It wasn't a battle anymore. It was a slaughter. Ship after ship fell to human railguns and missiles. The Council forces that had numbered 2,000 at the battle's start were reduced to a few hundred survivors. War Marshal Kreth sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. His mighty fleet was gone, destroyed by a species he'd dismissed as primitive animals. "Sir, we have to withdraw," his tactical officer pleaded. "There's nothing left." An explosion rocked the Devastator. Human missiles had found them. "Evacuate the ship," Kreth ordered. "All hands to escape pods." But before he could leave the bridge, the Retribution appeared directly in front of his flagship. Taeyang's face filled his view screen. "Marshal Kreth, you came to destroy Earth, to enslave humanity, to make an example of us." Taeyang's voice was ice cold. "Instead, we made an example of you. Tell the Council what you saw here. Tell them what happens when they threaten Earth." The Devastator's systems failed one by one. Kreth barely made it to an escape pod before the ship exploded. The battle lasted 3 days in total. When it ended, Earth's orbit was filled with debris. 1,500 Council ships were destroyed. The rest fled in panic. Human losses were heavy too, 48 ships and 6,000 crew members. But Earth stood unconquered. On the Retribution's bridge, Taeyang watched the last Council ships jump to FTL and vanish. His crew was exhausted, running on adrenaline and determination. But they'd won. "Damage report," he said quietly. "Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7, Ji-Won reported. Main engines at 40% capacity. Weapons mostly intact. We're hurt, but we'll survive." Xiong slumped in her chair, finally allowing herself to feel the exhaustion. "Captain, we did it." "We actually did it." Yuna appeared on screen from her lab. "I'm monitoring Council communications. They're in complete chaos. Some fleets are retreating to their home systems. Others are demanding the Council explain how this happened." Admiral Sang-hoon's face appeared on the main display. He looked 10 years older than he had 3 days ago. "All ships return to stations for repairs. But stay ready. This isn't over. We won the battle, but the war has just begun." Taeyang knew he was right. They'd humiliated the Council, destroyed their invasion force. But the Council had dozens of sectors, hundreds of systems, thousands more ships. Earth had proven it could fight. Now it had to prove it could win on the Council station. 3 months after the Battle of Earth, Captain Taeyang Kim stood in the briefing room of the repaired Retribution. Admiral Sang-hoon Baek's face appeared on the display, along with Premier Min-soo Kang and several other fleet commanders. "The Council is regrouping," Sang-hoon said. "They're pulling ships from border regions and consolidating their forces. Intelligence suggests they're building something in the Terminus system. Something big." "A weapon?" Taeyang asked. "We think so. Intelligence Officer Dae-hyun Shin has been monitoring their communications." Dae-hyun briefed them. A quiet man appeared on screen. Dae-hyun looked tired but focused. "We've intercepted encrypted messages between Counselor Vex and the Drakari Weapons Division. They're constructing what they call a planet killer, a station capable of destroying entire worlds from orbit." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. If the Council completed this weapon, they could glass Earth without risking another fleet. "How long until it's operational?" Lieutenant Seung-hae Choi asked. 4 months, maybe less. "They're working around the clock," Premier Min-soo spoke up. "Then we don't have time for a defensive strategy. We need to take the fight to them." "Agreed," Sang-hoon said. "We're launching a new campaign. We won't wait for them to attack us again. We're going after their bases, their supply lines, their colonies. We're going to dismantle the Council piece by piece." Over the next weeks, Earth's fleet spread across multiple systems. They didn't try to hold territory. Instead, they struck, fast and vanished before Council reinforcements could arrive. They liberated colonies where the Council had enslaved or oppressed other species. Taeyang led one such mission to Ryloth 4, a mining world where the Drakari had forced the native Quilari people into labor camps. The Retribution dropped out of FTL in orbit, catching the Drakari garrison completely by surprise. "Scan for the labor camps," Taeyang ordered, "and someone find the garrison commander's ship." Seung-hye worked her controls. "I've got both. The camps are on the northern continent. The garrison ship is in low orbit on the far side of the planet. Can we disable it without destroying it? Give me a minute." Seung-hye calculated trajectories and weapon solutions. "If we hit their engine core with an EMP torpedo, we can knock out their power without killing the crew." "Do it. Dr. Yuna, prepare a landing team. We're going down to free those people." The EMP strike worked perfectly. The Drakari garrison ship went dark and started falling toward the planet. They'd recover eventually, but by then, the Retribution would be long gone. Yuna led the landing team down to Ryloth 4. Engineer Ji-won Lee came with her, along with 20 armed soldiers. They found the labor camp surrounded by force fields and guard towers. The Quilari inside looked beaten down, hopeless. Ji-won studied the force field generators. "These are old models. I can shut them down, but it'll take a few minutes." "Work fast," Yuna said, watching the guards mobilize in response to their arrival. "We've got company coming." The human soldiers took defensive positions. When the Drakari guards arrived, they found themselves facing weapons they'd never encountered before. Human plasma rifles based on reverse-engineered Council technology, but improved by human engineering. The fight lasted less than 5 minutes. The Drakari guards retreated in confusion. Ji-won shut down the force fields, and the Quilari prisoners stumbled out, blinking in the sunlight. A Quilari elder approached Yuna cautiously. They were small, bird-like beings with feathers and large eyes. "Who are you?" "We're from Earth. We're here to help you." "Earth?" The elder's eyes widened. "The species that defeated the Council fleet? We heard rumors, but we thought they were just stories." "Not stories, truth. You're free now. We have transport ships coming to evacuate you to safe systems." The Quilari elder touched Yuna's hand with trembling fingers. "Why would you help us? You don't even know us." Yuna thought about Kepler Station. About the 17,000 humans who died because no one helped them. Because someone should have helped us when we needed it. And because it's the right thing to do. Similar scenes played out across a dozen systems. Human forces freed slaves, exposed Council lies, and distributed evidence of Council crimes to the galactic networks. The message spread quickly. Earth wasn't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for everyone the Council had oppressed. This had unexpected consequences. 3 minor species, the Quilari, the Ven, and the Lothics, approached Earth in secret. Their representatives met with Premier Minsu in a secure location. "We want to help you fight the Council," the Quilari representative said. "For generations, they've treated us as lesser beings. They've stolen our resources and our freedom. You've shown us that resistance is possible." Minsu was cautious. "We're not trying to build an empire. We don't want to replace the Council's tyranny with our own." "We know. That's why we trust you. You freed our people and asked for nothing in return. That's more than the Council ever did." The alliance was formalized in secret. The 3 species shared intelligence and technology. The Quilari had excellent stealth technology. The Ven were master shipbuilders. The Lothics had developed quantum communications that couldn't be intercepted. Combined with Earth's military prowess, they became a force the Council couldn't ignore. But the Council was fracturing from within as well. High Chancellor Mira of the Celthian Accord watched the war unfold with growing horror. Her people were peaceful traders and explorers. They'd joined the Council for protection, not conquest. She secretly contacted Earth through back channels. Intelligence Officer Daehyun arranged the meeting, taking extreme precautions. "I want to help you," Mira told Premier Minsu via encrypted communication. "Not all Council members support this war. Some of us believe the Council has become corrupt." "Why should we trust you?" Minsu asked bluntly. Because I can give you something valuable. Information. The location of the superweapon at Terminus Station, details about its defenses, and the identities of other council members who are sympathetic to your cause. Minsu studied the alien on his screen. She seemed genuine, but he'd been fooled before. If you betray us, I won't. My people are tired of war. We want peace, but not at the price of our honor. What the Council is doing to Earth and to others is wrong. It must end. The information Mira provided was priceless. She revealed that 4 other Council species wanted out of the war, but were too afraid to speak up. She gave Earth the complete layout of Terminus Station, including its defensive grid and the superweapon's vulnerabilities. The weapon is almost complete, she warned. You have 2 months at most. After that, they'll test it on a civilian target to demonstrate its power. Then they'll use it on Earth. Admiral Sang-hoon gathered his commanders for an emergency meeting. We have to destroy that weapon before it's operational. This will be the most dangerous mission we've ever attempted. Terminus Station is in the heart of Council space, protected by 300 warships and automated defenses. Can we even get a fleet that deep into their territory? Captain Tae-yang asked. The Quillari stealth technology can help. But once we start fighting, the element of surprise will be gone. We'll be surrounded by enemy forces with no quick escape route. Then we make sure we don't need to escape, Tae-yang said grimly. We go in with enough firepower to destroy the station and fight our way out. Preparations began immediately. Earth committed its entire available fleet, 300 ships. The Quillari provided stealth field generators. The Ven built specialized assault ships designed to breach heavy defenses. The Lothix coordinated communications to ensure perfect timing. Dr. Yuna Han studied the weapon's technical specifications that Mira had provided. It's powered by a massive antimatter reactor. If we can overload it, the resulting explosion will destroy the entire station. What do we need to hit? Sung-hye asked. The reactor's cooling system. It's heavily shielded, but there are maintenance access ports here, and here. Yuna highlighted the weak points on the display. A direct hit with fusion warheads should cause a chain reaction. How close do we need to be for a direct hit? Yuna looked uncomfortable. Point-blank range. Whoever makes the attack run won't have time to escape the blast radius. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. Suicide mission. I'll do it, Tae-yang said immediately. No, Admiral Sang-hoon replied. You're too valuable. We'll find volunteers. With respect, sir, the Retribution has the best weapons and the best crew. We have the highest chance of success. And if we're going to ask someone to die for Earth, it should be me. Sung-hye stood up. Captain goes, I go. Same here, Ji-won added. Count me in, Yuna said quietly. Admiral Sang-hoon looked at them with a mixture of pride and sadness. You're the best crew I have. I don't want to lose you. Then let's make sure we destroy that weapon, Tae-yang replied. Give us covering fire and maybe we'll figure out a way to survive. The fleet departed for Terminus Station 1 week later. 300 human ships plus 50 vessels from the allied species. They traveled in small groups to avoid detection, using the Quillari stealth technology to mask their signatures. Counselor Vex stood on the observation deck of Terminus Station, watching the superweapon near completion. Soon he would have the power to destroy Earth and end this humiliating war. The Council would regain its authority.